Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We are going to start our webinar, Get Ready for Your 1099s. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Caroline Vargas. I'm your account manager here at MIG. And we have Chris Hayden. He's a technical sales manager for Greenshades. For the audio controls, you can choose your mic and speakers, your computer, or you can also, there's an option to dial in. The information is provided at the bottom. Questions, you can submit questions via the questions panel, and then at the end of the session, at the end of the webinar, we'll have a Q&A session. Okay, so we'll go over the agenda. About us, get ready for your 1099s, about Greenshades, products and services, year-end forms. We have a live demo, and at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Okay, about MIG, we are experts in the implementation and support of leading financial and businesses applications from Microsoft. Our solutions are Microsoft Dynamics GP, Microsoft Dynamics SL, and Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We have been in business since 1999, and we assist organizations stream their businesses and processes and to maximize their productivity. These are our certifications. We are a Microsoft Gold certified partner, and we are recognized by the Microsoft Business Solutions as a premier ERP reseller. And we also have the CPA. Whoever is taking or viewing this demo to get your CP credits, please let us know. We'll be happy to help you with that. Okay, so I'm just going to hand it over to Chris Hayden. He's going to go over Greenshades for us today.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is Chris with Greenshades Software. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for joining today's presentation. So today we're going to spend some time going through the 1099 module that we have here at Greenshades. It's all about year-end. It's all about preparing for year-end. Most of you are, likely familiar with Greenshades in some capacity. We've been around since 1992, but a lot of the solutions that we have deal with payroll and human resources, running payroll in-house. However, in terms of total product line, most of them deal with payroll and HR. However, about half of our clients, about 2,500 or so clients we have, use us specifically for 1099s. They may outsource their payroll, or they may not, have any assistance that they need for managing payroll and human resources in-house, but they use us to assist with 1099, so we can help with the actual distribution of the recipient copies to the vendors at year-end, and then, of course, we can assist with the filing to the IRS. But a lot of what we do and what we've always been doing since 1992 is helping with taxes. So whether it's payroll taxes or 1099s, we can help with the filing of taxes. Certainly now, a very popular topic of conversation right now is the Affordable Care Act. So part of our licensing actually includes the ACA reporting as well. So some of the new forms that are being required as part of the Affordable Care Act being issued to recipients and to the IRS at the end of the year are part of the 1090X series from the IRS. So it's actually really a type of 1099. It's a 1095C and a 1094C. So we can actually assist with that as well. So we do a variety of things, all primarily around Microsoft Dynamics. So just a little bit of information on some of the solutions. What we're going to be talking about today primarily is the Greenshades Center, the Greenshades Tax Filing Center, and we're going to be talking about the year-end forms software. But for those of you that use us for some of these other components, or if you're running payroll and HR in-house and you need assistance with some of these things, we offer a payroll tax service to assist with filing payroll taxes and making those deposits. Generally, that's one of the biggest concerns with bringing payroll in-house, so certainly our solution can assist with that. We have an application that's built specifically for Microsoft Dynamics GP that's referred to as the Payroll Inspector, and that application literally runs inside of GP, and it helps catch potentially incorrect information. So basically things that can be maybe entered incorrectly on a regular basis. Maybe you add a new employee record and you incorrectly put in their address. You know, we're all humans, or maybe we have incorrect information that's provided to us, or there's incorrect tax rates in GP. Different things like that. It can assist with sick leave compliance for those of you in states that have new sick leave requirements, certainly a big thing up in the Northeast right now. We can assist with that. We have a full employee self-service portal, which is partly related to the year-end form solution that we'll be talking about today, but you know, we're primarily dealing with recipients and vendors for the most part today. But if you have employees, of course, that are being paid by your organization that you need to distribute earnings statements to, or you want to allow those employees to manage their personal information in a self-service capacity where they can view, again, earnings statements online. You might have them update their contact information. You might have them go through benefits enrollment online, do time and attendance, a variety of things that can be done through the employee self-service portal. But everything at Greenshades is completely a la carte. So the nice thing about working with MIG and with Greenshades is that we can, you know, work together to kind of develop a solution that's going to actually fit for your particular needs. So if you have no need for payroll and HR, you know, compliance with Greenshades, you don't have to look at those applications. Or if maybe when it comes to the 1099s, maybe you don't need assistance with distributing the forms to the vendors at the end of the year. You're fine printing those yourselves out of Dynamics GP, but maybe you need to be able to submit the e-file to the IRS because you have more than 250 records. Those are things that we can assist with, so we can kind of work together to design the solution that's the best fit for you. So the year-end form solution that we'll be talking about today is a web-hosted solution. So the application that we have, including this application and all of our applications at Greenshades, have a direct integration with Microsoft Dynamics. So the 1099 data that can be stored within Microsoft Dynamics, we can pull the data directly from there to assist with that. Again, assist with the distribution. In fact, if you have any sort of intranet or anything like that that maybe your vendors go to on a regular basis right now to access their information throughout the year, we can actually publish those 1099 forms to that intranet, so your vendors could actually receive those recipient copies electronically. But outside of that, we can certainly assist with distributing those paper copies. We give you the ability to compile the information, so you're kind of maximizing efficiency, but then you're able to actually print those 1099s on the blank paper, so you don't have to worry about, you know, purchasing pre-printed forms, worrying about alignment or anything like that. So that would work with any kind of 1099 form, of course, including the new 1095 forms, but also 1098Ts if you have any student loans, anything like that need to be assisted with. But on top of giving you the ability to print those forms to the blank paper, we do offer a mail service as well. So it's pretty cost effective. A lot of organizations, you know, do take us up on that. We do over 1 million tax forms every year that we print and mail. We're projecting to do over 2 million this year. We're quite close to 2 million last year. So if you, you know, say the heck with it, I don't want to print any more forms in-house, I'm tired of, you know, wasting my resources in January, we do offer a print and mail service where we can just print those 1099s for you and mail those directly to your recipients at the address that's, you know, provided. All right, so without further ado, we can go ahead and switch over to the live demonstration. Let me go ahead and get my screen pulled up here. Let me just look at the view here. It looks like everything's coming through. You probably aren't seeing much just yet. I'm actually just looking at my desktop right now. So where we're kind of starting with all this and kind of going through the roadmap of what we're going to be looking at, we're going to be talking about the Greenshades Center, which is the application that actually extracts the vendor records from Microsoft Dynamics. So we're going to start with the Greenshades Center just to kind of show you how to actually pull the data directly out of Microsoft Dynamics. And then from there, we're going to transition into the year-end forms application, which is the web-hosted solution where you'll actually go to distribute those recipient copies. So the Greenshades Center, I literally just download it from the website, Greenshades.com, and I can launch it right here on my computer. So all of our applications, you can access them from Greenshades.com. I click on Downloads right here, Tax Filing Center, and you can just come out here, plug in GP, throw your registration key into the application, and you can download it directly. And certainly, resources are available to assist you with that. But the Greenshades Center is a very simple product to install, and when you install it, you're going to launch it directly from your desktop. You have the ability to launch this out of GP. Really depends on how you want to access the application. So within GP, you can actually, once you install the program, you can go to Tools, Routines, Purchasing, and then 1099. So it'll say Greenshades 1099. So for those of you that are already using this, you might be familiar with launching it from GP. I personally like to have the Greenshades Center installed on my computer, and I just launch it directly from my desktop. But you can see when I launch the application, you're actually going to log into the server and database where GP is stored, and you can plug in your user credentials right here. So when I launch the Greenshades Center, it's connecting into that Dynamics GP database in real time to actually pull out that information. So we're going to be talking about more or less the kind of the complete package when it comes to managing 1099s at year end. So when you think about 1099s from start to finish, you've got the forms that are being distributed to the recipients in January, but then you have an actual file that is getting issued to the IRS in February. So with a 1099 miscellaneous, for example, you've got your Form 1099 that's getting issued to the vendor in January, and then you have your Form 1096, which is getting issued to the IRS that you're actually mailing in as that transmittal form. So at Greenshades, we can assist with the recipient copies, and we can assist with the filing to the government. Those don't necessarily have to, they can be used exclusively, but you don't necessarily have to use both of those applications. If you use both, if you use Greenshades to assist with the 1099s and do the e-filing, it's a very simple process, which I'm going to go through and kind of show you start to finish how that process works. But if you're going through this and you say, you know what, I'm good with the distribution, I just need Greenshades to assist with the e-filing, keep in mind that this application does allow you to come in here and actually just build the e-file returns right from the Greenshades Center. So I've launched the Greenshades Center here. I'm going to click on Create Year-End Forms. So I'm really going to be using the Greenshades Center as a carrier to pull the data from Microsoft Dynamics and then send that information up to the web-hosted solution, up to the Year-End Forms application. So I'm going to kind of focus on the distribution and then the e-filing, but again, just keep in mind you can certainly choose to use just the e-filing portion if that's all you need assistance with. If by chance you are in a situation where you have historical 1099 records that need to be filed, we can assist with that. It has happened before. There have been situations where a client calls us up and says, you know what, we just received a letter from the IRS. They haven't received 1099s from us from last year. In some cases, there were some kind of unusual circumstances that were going on, and we worked with companies that haven't actually filed for the last 3 or 4 years. Again, that's not a regular occurrence. But as long as you have that historical data within Microsoft Dynamics or could provide us that data via Excel, we can certainly assist with the historical copies as well for getting previous year data filed to the IRS. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to choose the year that I'm actually reporting. In this task environment, I'm going to work in, actually I'm going to work in 2013. I've got some good data within tax year 2013, but of course when you come in here and do this in January, you're going to be reporting tax year 2015. As for the type of tax form, I'm going to work with a 1099 miscellaneous. Certainly we can assist with payroll forms. I already kind of referred to that a little bit earlier, W-2s, certainly now the ACA forms, the 1095Cs. But even on the purchasing side, really any kind of tax form that you're dealing with, we can assist with. So it could be 1099 miscellaneous, it could be 1099Rs if you're dealing with pensions. We've got a lot of casinos that use this for W-2Gs. Certainly I mentioned earlier 1098Ts. We can even assist with Canadian tax forms. So any of these tax forms are going to be supported and some of this data can be pulled from Microsoft Dynamics, but even if you have data coming from outside of Microsoft Dynamics in like a third-party application for some maybe kind of like a 1099K or something like that, we can pull data from those systems as well. All right, so I'm just going to walk through the process right here. Very straightforward upload process. Because the data is pulling from Microsoft Dynamics GP and it's built specifically for Microsoft Dynamics GP, it's a very simple wizard that you're going through to pull the data. You're not having to run some sort of export file or go through any kind of complicated import scenarios. If for some reason you needed to do that, we can assist with that. But 99.9% of our clients that are using Dynamics GP, we're going to pull the data right from there. Again, if maybe your AP data is not in a very good place in GP and you want to work with the data in Excel first, that's certainly fine. We can work with you on that. But we give you some good applications in here, some good filtering capabilities, so that if, for example, maybe you've got multiple companies that for security purposes you have multiple GP databases that are under the same reporting EIN, so they need to be combined for tax reporting purposes, we can do that. We can roll those together. You can see we can combine those multiple GP databases into a single file. Or maybe you have a situation where you've got multiple vendor records in GP that have the same tax identification number. So for a variety of reasons, you might have them set up as a separate vendor within GP. You might have two vendor cards, but for tax reporting purposes, they need to be issued a single 1099. So we can actually combine those records into a single 1099. All of the company information is going to be pulled directly from the master tables within Microsoft Dynamics. But if you need to edit any of that information, you have the ability to do that. You can see here when we're going through this process in real time, we're going to give you some totals down here at the bottom. These are really kind of early summary tables. You'll have the ability to view more details before actually working with the data, but this will let you let you know right away, hey, am I missing any vendors or anything like that? Because one of the nice things about Microsoft Dynamics is that it gives you a lot of flexibility in how you're setting up your data within GP. We certainly understand that and respect that. So you have the ability to come in here and actually choose which name we're pulling from, which field we're pulling from on that vendor card that you actually want to populate on the top line on that 1099, which of course is pretty critical. If for any reason you need to come in here and work with the data via Excel, you can actually, right from here, you can export this data to Excel, make a lot of edits to it, and then re-import. So if you have a lot of edits that need to be done outside of GP, you can do that. Certainly if you find something that needs to be corrected that's a permanent correction that should be corrected in GP, best practice, we're going to tell you, hey, go back in Microsoft Dynamics, make that change, and then come in here and go back through the upload process. But if you need to make the edit outside of Dynamics for any reason, you can do that right here. You've got some additional filtering requirements here. Again, if you want to, mention this earlier, merge vendor records into a single 1099 form, or perhaps if you're in a situation where you've got some vendors that are under that $600 payment threshold that you want to report a 1099 for, you have the ability to do that. So we can really help with filtering the information, providing you the right information that you want to report up to the year-end forms product where we'll actually be distributing those 1099s. So at this point, you've got your summary information right here. Again, we can compare that to our records in GP, make sure this matches what we would anticipate this being, and then once it looks good, we'll click Upload Forms. So I've already got a form set that's created, so I'm not going to go through that process, but when we click Upload Forms, what it's then going to do is require us to set up administrators in our system. So literally, you're just going to be plugging in some email addresses and saying, okay, this individual should have access to the information, and you can choose which administrators in your company should have access to this 1099 form set. From there, it's going to direct you out to greenshadesonline.com. So the same link that was referenced in the PowerPoint slides just a moment ago. This is the solution where you're actually going to work with these forms. So it is a web-hosted solution. So what that means is that anywhere with an internet connection, you're able to go out here and work with this information. So if you're not at the office, or if you're at a computer that doesn't have a direct connection into Microsoft Dynamics, or maybe you're not even a Dynamics user and you need to be able to edit the information, you can go out here and you can work with that 1099 information. So anyone in your organization who you want to set as an administrator for your 1099 form sets, you'll plug in their email address, they'll get a email notification where they can go through an account setup process, and then it's just simple sign-in process with their email address and a password that they've created during the account setup. No different than online banking or anything like that, where you've got your little security image just to make sure that it's a valid site and everything looks good. And of course, it's going to require you to actually put in the correct password. All right, so when we go through the upload process, each company that you have can be split out. So if you're working with multiple databases and you want to have different users accessing different company records, you can certainly do that. It doesn't happen too regularly. Generally, in most cases, it's more of a matter of a situation where you might have one individual that's responsible for distributing the 1099 miscellaneous forms, and you've got another individual that's responsible for distributing the 1098Ts, for example. So it's not necessarily that you wouldn't want each of them to see the other's respective data, but it's more that just for a training purposes, you don't want them to be accidentally going into the wrong form set. So you can set up security rules so that way the right individual will only have access to the right form set. And I'll show you a completed form set, but just so you can kind of see how the welcome wizard works, this is really what you're going to see as soon as you click that upload forms button within the Greenshades Center. So when I had this Greenshades Center pulled up here and I clicked upload forms, going to require me to put in the administrators that should have access. Once the form set's created, I'll get that email address, and it's going to take me right here where I can go through the process of setting up the form set here. Well, let's see, did I do that correctly? So you can see it's just going to be a simple welcome wizard that you'll go through. You've got an opportunity to do some branding and that type of thing. So if you wanted for any reason to put your company logo in here or anything like that, you can do that. Again, just so it really kind of feels like your form set here. But once we're actually ready to work with the forms, I'm just going to go to one of our 2014 1099 form sets right here. And I'll walk you through the process. So in that test environment, you saw where I had multiple form sets that were available to me. That's just because I'm working with multiple types of 1099s. So if you've got 1099 miscellaneous forms and 1099Ks that you're distributing, those are going to have separate form sets because they're going to be different form types. They're going to have different formatting. They're going to have different filing requirements, spec requirements, all of those types of things. So we're going to split those out for you. So once we're actually working with the proper form set, here are my 1099 miscellaneous forms. You'll see kind of continuing the trend of the wizard-based workflow where we really want to make it as straightforward and simple as possible. You've got a urine form checklist that you'll go through and you'll complete. And once you complete every step, you're done. I mean, you really can't forget a step because you're guided through this process. At any point, you can go ahead and view your 1099 forms. So any edits that you make or any corrections that you make are going to be updating the 1099 form in real time. But as soon as you go through the upload process, if you want to come in here and just take a quick look at the form data, you can do that. We can come in here and we can click print, and it's going to pull up a PDF of that 1099 form, and it's going to look just like any regular 1099 form that we've seen in the past. So I can come in here in a PDF viewer, I can kind of shrink it down a little bit, and you'll see it's just a regular, straightforward 1099 form. there's a separate place where we'll go to actually distribute those forms, but this is just kind of where you can do a quick summary to kind of get a feel of what that 1099 form looks like, just to make sure everything looks correct. You've got some nice search capabilities right here as well, so if you're in a situation where you're working with a large quantity of forms, makes it very easy to drill down and find the specific form that you're working with, whether you want to search by tax ID, or you want to search by vendor name, or you want to filter based on a number of different options. We can actually come in here into our advanced options, and you can really have a number of filter requirements, because we have some clients that have 50,000 records that they're distributing through Greenshades. So they're dealing with thousands of records that they're working through, so they want it to be as simple as possible to access that information. And then really, in addition to accessing those forms, you've got reports that you can access at any point, where you can come in here and kind of see in real time what the status is of all of your 1099 forms. So if you're making edits, for example, you've got an audit log on here, an activity log that's going to be tracking which administrators are actually making those edits. So if you have multiple folks within your organization that are assisting with the distribution, you know who's made what edit. So you're not in a situation where you've got kind of too many hands in the pot. We want to avoid that, which is why you're able to limit who has access to the records. But if you have more than one person that has access, it's nice to be able to see kind of who's completed what step. And certainly you can see right here, if you do point this to any kind of intranet that you may have for your vendors, you can see as your vendors consent to receive those forms electronically, we're going to track that for you. But kind of getting back to the process of what we're looking like in January. January is a busy time of year. We want to keep it as straightforward as possible. So you open up the Greenshades Center, right? You completed the steps that we walked through earlier. You went through the year-end forms. You come out here. You've clicked Upload Forms. Now you're just going to go through the checklist. So you're going to go through the simple company setup, which I just did, where you're verifying the company name and the EIN, all of that relevant information. Step 2 is the vendor identity verification. Most people will refer to this as TIN matching or TIN verification. So what this will do is link up with the IRS service, where it's going to take a look at your vendor names and tax IDs and check to make sure that that matches what the IRS has on file. So if any of them come back as not matching, you'll be notified to the system. So of course, the goal for this is to help catch any incorrect information that was provided to you on that W-9 by the vendor. Any other kind of warnings that may be existing with the forms you're going to be made aware of here. We have different levels of severity on these warnings. Anything that is a critical level, you would be blocked from filing, at least until you called us up and worked with us to address those. Generally, a critical warning is going to be something that we know without a doubt would cause the IRS to reject that file. So if we know the IRS is going to reject the file, we're not going to let you submit it. That's what we're in the business of doing, is helping you automate the filing process. Most of the time, your warnings are going to be dealing with incorrect tax identification numbers or incorrect addresses. It could be that the address is not a valid address according to the U.S. Postal Service, or it could be that it appears to be invalid based on a number of other factors. Maybe it's a foreign address that hasn't been actually noted as being a foreign address, or it's a address that has an invalid state code or something something like that. So you'll have the opportunity to verify those, because really we're just wanting to bring this to your attention so you feel confident about the information that you're reporting to those vendors and then ultimately to the IRS. Our goal is to cut down on corrected forms. So we want to help you ensure that the original copy that you're issuing to this recipient is the correct copy. And then, of course, finally, the file that's getting submitted to the IRS, we want to make sure that's the correct copy. If you're in a situation where you go through the filing process and you need to correct a 1099, if you need to submit a corrected 1099 to a recipient, or if you've already filed to the IRS and you need to submit a corrected e-file, we can assist with that. Your licensing includes that, but that's of course additional work for everyone, so we would like to help you keep that to a minimum. Step 4 is verifying the totals. Really straightforward. You're having an opportunity to look at those totals, make sure that they match what you would expect. You can download a detailed Excel file with all of this information at any point. You can come right here where it says download Excel. That's going to download a very detailed file that has all of this information on it, line by line for each vendor. But this is giving you a summary of the situation with the vendor. So you have an opportunity to quickly say, yeah, that matches, or no, that does not match. And you can see that when you complete each one of these things, you have this checkbox here where you can check off on that and say, yep, I reviewed it, it looks good, and click finish. So that way your checklist, you can see when each item has been completed and who completed it. So again, if you have multiple administrators in the system, you can see exactly who completed it. So once you've gone through the forms, everything looks good, you've gone through the totals, everything matches, everything's in a good place, at some point in January you're going to decide, okay, I'm ready to distribute my forms now. I've got to get these 1099s out before the end of January. I don't want to wait until the last minute, so I want to go ahead and distribute those. So you have two options when it comes to distribution. You can either print them yourselves onto blank paper, or you can use the Greenshades print and mail service. Either option works great. Really just depends on what kind of resources you have internally to do the printing and what sort of quantity you're talking about. If you're talking about printing out 100 forms, maybe not a big deal. If you're talking about printing out 100,000 forms, okay, that's a bigger deal. So when you come in here, you're going to complete the checklist depending on which option you want to go through. These prices here, that $1.75, you can just ignore that. That's inflated for a variety of reasons. Typically, you can do all of this for about $1 a form, so it's pretty cost-effective solution when it comes to distributing those forms. But the mail prices just vary depending on what time of the month you're actually having us print and mail those forms. Obviously, we plan to do over 2 million tax forms this year, so we do whatever we can to encourage folks to release those forms as early as possible to us. But when you come in here and you submit your order, you're going to go through the distribution process, again, keeping that wizard format in place. You're going to come in here and say, okay, which forms am I actually distributing, right? Any forms that maybe you already printed out on paper, you had a vendor stop by the office and you say, hey, while you're here, let me print out your 1099. You can mark those as distributed. So that way when you come in here to use the print and mail service, you're only going to be issuing the forms that need to still be issued, meaning the ones that haven't already been distributed to your vendors. You have another opportunity to basically resolve any warnings that you have with those forms. You have an opportunity to verify the totals once again. I mean, you can kind of see, we're really trying to put this in your face so you have the ability to really feel confident about everything before you release those. You can choose basically the delivery option. So whether or not you want us to use the pressure sealed format, or if you actually want those forms to be folded, stuffed in an envelope, and mailed out. The most common method, and of course the quickest method, is the pressure sealed delivery, but you can certainly choose the other option if you would prefer that. And of course here, if you want to be nice to your vendors and put an H&R Block coupon on the end, you can do that as well. So that would be it, right? We would come in here, we'd put your name right here, you would say, all right, I authorize this, go ahead and submit it, click mail forms, and at that point you would be placed in a queue, your forms would, and we're going to get those forms out. So when you get to the end of January, I think we have a deadline of around January 27th, something like that, and as long as you come in here and you release those forms for mailing by that date, then we can guarantee a postmark date of Jan 31. And from a licensing perspective as well, none of this is billed until afterwards. So if you choose to go the mail service route, that invoice would be provided to you most likely by MIG afterwards. So it's not something that you have to prepay for. So if you're in a situation where maybe you say, hey, you know what, I'm planning to print them myself, and last minute you change your mind, no worries. you come in here and you submit it. It's not something you have to sign up for in advance or anything like that. So that would be it, right? They would be distributed at that point. Any forms that you want to print yourself, you have the ability to do that. You don't have to go in and print each one by one. That would be way too time consuming. So what you can do is just simply download a batch. You're going to go through the same verification steps as we did before. The difference is that when we get to the last screen, which I'm just going to slide through these real quick. When we get through the last screen, well, I guess we'll stop at this one. When we get here, we're going to be asking again about the layout, and we're going to ask how you want those forms sorted. So what we're going to be doing, let's say you have 100 forms that you're distributing, we're going to create a batch PDF file for you that's going to have all of those 1099s listed out back to back for you. And then from there, you'll put your blank paper in the printer, you'll open up that batch 1099 file, and you'll click print, and it will just seamlessly print all those 1099s out, back to back. That's a great way to save those for your records as well. So for archiving the data, once you've distributed your forms, you can come in here and you can download those records to a searchable PDF file that you can save on site. You can certainly distribute or save them to a CD or a USB drive or anything like that as well. Here we go. See, very simple process. This checkbox right here is pretty critical. So I'm sure we would address this in the training process with you as well. But for those of you that plan to use this year, just remember this part right here with this checkbox that says intent to deliver. So a lot of clients like to come in here at the beginning of January once they have their forms uploaded and say, okay, I want to go ahead and download a searchable PDF file that I'm going to download and keep on site, which is 100% fine. We have this checkbox right here so that if you are downloading these forms with the intent to print out and hand to your recipients, you can check off on that box that says intent to deliver. So you'll see it's not checked off by default. We don't want you to accidentally mark them as submitted. But what that means to Greenshades is that once you check off on that box and you click continue, at that point we're going to say, okay, they've distributed the forms, right? So we're going to stop sending you alerts and saying, hey, you got to submit these forms. We're going to mark that as completed at that point. But if you just want to come in here just for the heck of it and be able to view those forms at any point, you can certainly do that. You can see right here, if I come in here and let me just minimize that a little bit or shrink it down, you can see that I've got all those 1099s back to back. So whether you're choosing to print these out to blank paper or if you just want to download these for your records, it's an easy way to store those 1099s, and you can store those locally that way. So you don't necessarily have to keep the data hosted on Greenshades for multiple years. All right, so that brings us to the end of January. The only thing left to do after that would be submitting the file to the IRS. Some of you may already be aware of this, but if you, well, really a couple of things to note. If you have more than 250 records that you're filing to the IRS, you would be required to submit those records electronically through an e-file. In addition to that, though, anyone can optionally file. So even if you're not required to file electronically, any company is allowed to file electronically. You can either go through a registration process with the IRS where you'll get a transmitter control code that you can use to submit the file, or you can skip that registration process and use the Greenshades transmitter control code. That's how the majority of our clients do it. You don't have to have your own code, but you can use your code if you want. When you file electronically, though, not only is it easier, but you do get additional time. So instead of that transmittal file being due at the end of February to the IRS, when you file electronically, you get until the end of March. So it's a great way to give yourself some additional time, which is nice in case your vendors come back and request a correction on the 1099. Maybe they come back and they point out something that was incorrect. Maybe they provided you incorrect information to begin with, so you have to issue a new form, mark it as corrected, resubmit it to the vendor, which you can do all of that through Greenshades. And then when you submit that final e-file to the IRS, at that point the form had already been corrected, so you won't have to go through multiple submissions to the IRS. But whenever you're ready, just sometime before the end of March, you're going to come in here to step 6 and click E-File US 1099 Miscellaneous Return to the IRS. Literally just a matter of coming in here and clicking File Now. So you click File Now, you get the total screen one more time. You click Submit, you'll get an immediate authorization number, and then basically there's 2 additional steps after that, or 2 additional receipts, I guess, that you'll get from the IRS. You get an initial number, then you get a acceptance number, I believe it is, that once the IRS has actually acknowledged accepting that file, and then once they have formally approved it, and you get a separate notification. I think it's like a 2 or 3 step process. But as far as what you're doing in Greenshades, all you got to do is click File Now, and then everything's going to be done. So the file can be submitted directly through Greenshades. You don't have to go out to the IRS's website directly or anything like that. You'll click File Now, and then you'll be done, and all of that can be tracked through Greenshades after that. So if you're in a situation where you've got multiple 1099 types, this is certainly a great way to distribute those forms, because we can come in here, excuse me, and we can sort between our different 1099s that we're working with, whether it's 1099Ks and 1098Ts and 1042Ss, whatever it may be. And if you want to use this for distributing your W-2s, it's a great option for that as well. And as far as the historical data goes, this information can be kept online for as long as you want. It will absolutely be kept online at least for the entire year. So like right now, all of the tax year 2014 data is still online because it's going to be kept online for all of calendar year 2015. But if you want additional years worth of data left online, you can absolutely do that. You can choose to archive as many years as you want and keep that historical data out on the Your Earned Forms portal. But as I mentioned, you also have the ability to download that information to a PDF file, which most companies choose to go that route. Most people just keep it online if they have a particular reason. Most commonly is that if they have the data linked to an intranet where the vendors are viewing that information electronically, then it definitely makes sense to leave it online, because those vendors might want to go out and access historical copies. All right, so that wraps up what I was hoping to get through on the 1099 solution. We kind of talked about how the data is collected from Microsoft Dynamics, what filter options you have available. We talked through the entire process, both the distribution of the forms and the e-filing, but you can certainly choose to use Greenshades just for the e-filing if you choose to go that route, and you can submit that file directly from the Greenshades Center, which we have pulled up to start, the Greenshades Tax Filing Center. But we talked about the distribution, the different options that we have available for that, and then we talked about the e-filing to the IRS. So if there are any questions that have come in at this point, I would certainly be happy to address those.
Yes, actually we have 2 questions here. So the first one is there a cost to download Greenshades?
Yeah, so well, it depends on your licensing. So the software, you can download it as many times as you need. It's really just a matter of whether or not you have a registration key. And so if you don't already have a Greenshades registration key, then that's definitely something that we can work with you on in your licensing to make sure that you have the licensing to be able to download the Greenshades Center, or more importantly, to make sure that you've got the registration key available to plug into the Greenshades Center.
Great. And then we have another one, and 1099s need to be done before we close out the year in GP, correct? That's another question.
Yeah, so the 1099 data is generally going to be, typically going to be done kind of before you've moved on to the next year. But we actually do have quite a bit of flexibility with the Greenshades Center module when we're pulling the data from from GP. So we give you the ability to sort of avoid the traditional closing process that you have with AP. So we have, and that's one of the reasons that we have the ability to pull the historical data as well. So as soon as you have your history in GP, as soon as you have your complete calendar year worth of transactions in GP, at that point we'll be able to start pulling that data, which is typically done in January.
Okay, so we have two other questions here, Chris. Registration key purchase on Greenshades or website? I guess I'm sorry. So registration key purchase on Greenshades. That's one question.
Oh, as far as the purchasing process for?
Yeah, looks like.
Okay, yeah, so that's something that we can work together with on MIG. So all of the pricing and the purchasing would go through that. So just kind of depending on what it is that you're trying to solve for, we can work on a price quote for that, so you can know exactly what the pricing would be. And then if you choose to move forward with any of that, then we can go through the kind of the invoicing process for that for the initial registration key. All of the, if you use the mail service, like I talked about with that, where it gave that price estimate, and I mentioned that would all be billed afterwards. So that would all be selected on the website, but just the initial registration key and kind of to start off the initial process, that purchasing just would go through, through the account management at MIG.
Okay, great. And if there are no more questions, I would like to mention that today we have an exclusive promotion. Greenshade, it's offering 15% discount on your total Greenshade purchase to all webinar attendees. So we definitely would like to mention that. So if that's the case, please do reach out to us. Great. I'd like to go over really quick for MIG support. So MIG support plans are reliable and consistent support service program for business running Microsoft Dynamics. So our benefits include support with Microsoft Dynamics products. We have support with any related third-party add-ons, and we have fixed rate plans. And we have, again, like to mention some of the training. The training can be customized to your needs. Some of the training benefits include various training options. They are available with our support plans, and we have group discounts. If you'd like some more information regarding that, and again, the discount that Greenshades is offering, please contact us for more information at info@mig.com. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great. And then at the end, we'll have a survey at the end of the webinar. This survey is designed to help us evaluate and improve our webinars. So please take a few moments to to let us know if there's anything, give us some feedback or any improvements from your end. Thank you very much.